Well, good morning, Prairie Rose. We are very excited to bring you a little bit of information about AI this morning. Thanks for joining us in the chat and hooking up there. We do encourage you, even if we know there's several of you coming from schools, we think we have Warren Piers and Eagle Butte and let's see. Even if we know there's several of you. Sorry, we're having some internet issues this morning. So if things go a little wonky, we'll try to catch them. I was listing schools. I can't remember where I am. Several schools are joining us, several individuals. We do encourage you as individuals, even if we're up on the big screen and you're watching us together. Foremost, thank you, Corey. Foremost is here. I know I missed lots. I didn't get very far down the list. So we do encourage you as individuals to hop onto your own Chromebook so that you can join us in the chat. There will be some times when we're asking for some feedback and just to get you kind of involved in what we're doing this morning. So Kellyanne and I are excited to be coming to you with an overview of what we're going to do today. So we only have 45 minutes today, but we really wanted to get the conversation started in Prairie Rose about artificial intelligence and this whole kind of movement that's rocked our education world. So this morning's going to be pretty simple. We're going to do a brief overview of what is this new generative AI, very brief. We're not going to deep dive. And then we're just going to open the window. We're going to jump into some tools and give you some examples of what generative AI can look like, especially for you as an individual educator, for a teacher in your classroom. We're not going to delve into using AI with students or AI in the classroom or even the ethics of using AI in the classroom. That's for other sessions, which we hope will come. This one is just about an overview. What is AI? What does it look like? And what's it going to, what can it do for you as an educator? So what we would like to know this morning is, what is your knowledge about AI? Some of you filled out a form, but lots of you, your school just registered. So we don't have a great idea of where you're at with AI. So in the chat, we would love you to give us your numbers. 0 is like AI, I don't really know. I heard about it once. Maybe you're a wee bit, you've done a little bit of poking. Maybe you've done a fair bit and you've used some. And maybe you're using AI regularly. So we're seeing some 0s and 1s. Allie sent me some materials that she's planning on using with a class. And so I'm excited to chat with you about that, Allie. That looks good. I just briefly looked at that. All right, so some 0s, some 1s. That's kind of what we thought, and that's kind of where we are headed today. So good morning. We really appreciate that you're connecting on your devices in the chat. That's super helpful for us. Okay, so that's your knowledge about AI. This next question is going to look similar, but it's a little different. What is your experience using generative AI? So beyond talking to Siri or Alexa, so this new AI that's kind of, you've been hearing about maybe since Christmas, have you dug in? Have you been using tools? What is your experience? And maybe just put the word experience with the number so we know that you're answering the second question, not just the first one. Okay, so
this one seems to have a bit more of a range of
yes. So we have some folks that are seasoned users, some people that have done a wee bit. Okay. Yes. Oh, our friend Shiloh Dawn's we've been having some conversations. We would expect that some of you are certainly digging in. Know that for some of you, you just haven't had time yet, and that that will come, and that's why you're here this morning. And so we're excited to take on that with you. Now, those of you that are 3s and 4s, or maybe those of you that are even 2s, you're going to sit with us today and you're going to say, oh, we knew that. Maybe there's some new things, but we also hope that as you're sitting with your colleagues, that you can understand the experience that they've had with us this morning and can also be a help and a go-to with them as we proceed. So as we preface or begin and dive in this morning, we really believe, and this is a quote here, that AI has potential to change some of the ways that educators teach and some of the ways that students learn, that there's kind of no going back. And we've got some icons on this slide. It's like, can you imagine teaching without the internet or even without YouTube? I still remember, when you couldn't use YouTube and you had to do all these workarounds to get the videos from YouTube to your class. I'm glad we're not there anymore. Or can you even imagine that bottom picture is a microwave? Can you imagine cooking without a microwave? In many ways, AI will be like that. It will be a place where we don't go back, and it's a new way of doing things. So that's our premise this morning. Kellyanne, would you add anything there?
Well, I was just thinking about the old film reel.
Right. Okay. So given that this is a shift. This is like adding internet to education or YouTube to education. Those things aren't going away. AI in education is like that already. It's not going to be, it is. And so this morning, if you have no experience, we want to take you down a little bit of a path of what that could be like. Now, before we really dive in, we want to, in the chat, have you give us your thoughts about AI. We'd like you to use one of these question stems. Now, we're not going into any debatable topics this morning. We are not getting into, should we, shouldn't we. We're just going to give you some information and show you what it looks like. But we are interested in your questions and what you know. So in the chat, we would love you to choose one of these sentence starters and finish it. I know and I wonder. So pick one of those and finish it. While you're doing that, Kellyanne's going to post the link to the chat again, or the YouTube, so that if you're coming on your individual device, you can get there. And we do appreciate those answers in the chat. So while you're formulating those I knows, I wonders, that is excellent. All right. So Erica talks about time saving if we can use it properly. And that's what we're really going to focus on this morning. Craig's wondering, how do we improve student learning, decrease teacher workload? That's mostly what we're going to look at this morning. Lots of you are talking about workload. Nikki's already talking about producing character descriptions for student work. All right, Sean's talking about the detailed format. Sean is interesting. Sean East from Irvine uses the words "an incredibly factual information." And while that can be true, we will talk about why and how it might not be as we go on. So if you're in the chat, you can scroll through those comments. Dawn Funk from Irvine has a great question. How will it impact teaching, both positively and perhaps negatively? What will that look like?
Well, there's a strong theme here about you heard and you know that it's going to save you time, but not quite sure how to get there. So today maybe we'll plant some seeds, and in the upcoming after school specials, maybe you'll get a few more tips and tricks.
Excellent. So keep those coming in the chat. I know, I wonder. That's great. So AI has changed. So while you can take all sorts of courses that will go deep into how AI has changed and how it looks different, AI is basically a model that humans initially trained, right? It's like this is a yes, this is a no, this is the thing, this isn't. And so when humans began training AI, it was basically that humans taught a machine what was appropriate, what wasn't, and then the machine learned. Sometimes AI is also equivalated to machine learning, and machines could learn how to do a thing. But in the early days, in the 60s and 70s, very much trained by humans. And it's evolved, right? How many of you use voice to text when you type on your phone? Or how many of you use spell check? Or how many of you use on your smartboard, you write with a pen and you change it to text? That's all artificial intelligence. And if you think about how much better those tools have gotten over time, that's AI. But AI in the last months, not even a year, has changed drastically to what we call generative AI. Now, generative AI can quickly generate new and unique content. When you ask ChatGPT or another AI tool to generate something, it's not looking on the internet for something that exists. It is creating something brand new. If you ask ChatGPT or another internet tool the same question, the same prompt, it will give you something different every time. It'll probably be quite similar, and that's something that we need to be able to pick up on as teachers, but it will never be the same thing. It is generated uniquely. So that is generative AI, and it feels like you're talking to a human. So what's out there? What is in this world of generative AI? Lots of you have talked about in the chat already using ChatGPT, using it for fun. Some of you have used it for more. So lots of you have probably heard about ChatGPT. What I'm interested in knowing, and in the chat, can you just type ChatGPT, yes, I've used it, or no? So either yes, ChatGPT, no, you've used it, or you haven't. Doesn't matter either way, just we're very interested in that. So ChatGPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And it's based on something called a large language model. So what's happened is ChatGPT's large language model is taken basically everything from the internet up to September 2021. So if you ask ChatGPT to give you something, information on something that's very, very new, it won't have that information. Other tools, AI tools can, but ChatGPT is like stuck in 2021. And so that's something that we need to know. Basically, it's taken all of the internet materials, it's been fed books and all sorts of things, and it has created a large language model. It's used algorithms to detect how do humans talk, how do humans speak, how do they answer things. And that has enabled it to give us answers back that sound human. So if you've never used ChatGPT for the first time, we're going to go there in a moment or two. I'm still amazed sometimes at what it can produce. And so we're going to give you some of that as we take a look. Now, you might have heard of other tools. Microsoft's Bing is in conjunction with ChatGPT, but it's also adding an internet search from Bing. And so Bing can produce more current information. Google's Bard, you've probably heard lots about that. Did you know that it's available in 180 countries around the world, but not in Canada? If you try to go to Google Bard, it'll say it's not available in your country. So we're way behind the times, and I'm not sure what's happening there. All right, a couple other that you might have been hearing about are image generators. So you might be familiar with some of these on the screen. Typically, image generators have been more behind a paywall. There's some that we can use as educators for free with our free education Canva account that Prairie Rose has. We can use lots of Canva's AI generative tools for free. Adobe Firefly has free content, but others, DALL-E is probably like the biggest picture one, and Midjourney, those are either fee-based. You have to pay for a subscription, or you get some credits that run out really quickly. All right. So that's some of what is out there. Now, before we dig in, we just want to make sure we don't forget to say this as you are looking to create and use generative AI, and you know your students will be using it. We do want to say up front before we forget that AI detectors don't work. Early on, we were hopeful about AI detectors. In fact, in our newsletter, we even had some, check out these AI detectors. But in the last, probably since February or March, April, as we've used them more, AI detectors do not work. They are false positive and the opposite. So you're going to accuse students wrongly. They don't work. And so the best strategy is that you use the tools, you get to know them, like we're going to help you do today. And then you say, okay, well, this is what my student produces on their own, and this doesn't match. And then you have that conversation. We're not going into that today about student use, but we do want to just put that out there that we would strongly encourage you to not use AI detectors as your students are producing work. Okay, so in the chat, we've already talked about lots of the potential, and time saving is a big one. As we dive in, we want to give you an 80-20 rule, and we'll talk about this as we go on. along this morning. With ChatGPT or any other tool, you can let that program do 80% of the work. But as a human, if you're not doing 20% of the work to proofread, to check it out, it's going to be probably not a great situation for you. And so, never let yourself think that ChatGPT can 100% be your work solver. You need to do some of the work for sure on your own. All right, so we are going to dive into ChatGPT, and I'm already logged in. Kellyanne, do you want to flip over to the other screen where we have ChatGPT? So ChatGPT is produced by a company called OpenAI.com, and we can use ChatGPT for free. You do have to make an account. ChatGPT, when you use it, is on a model 3.5. So if you actually see at the top of my screen, it says ChatGPT 3.5. And then if I click over here on ChatGPT 4, you can see that it's locked, and it's $20 a month to upgrade. And you get ChatGPT 4, which is more current and super, super powerful. But we are going to use ChatGPT. So what we're going to do this morning is we're just going to put some prompts into ChatGPT to just give you a show of what it can look like. So we know that in less than a month, Halloween is coming up. And so we thought, well, one of the things that ChatGPT can do, whether it's at school or maybe even at home for your own uses, we asked ChatGPT to plan a Halloween party. So I've got some prompts that I'm just going to copy in so that you don't have to watch me stumble around with my typing. But let's take a look at this. You're a grade 4 teacher. You're going to plan a 60-minute classroom Halloween party for your 4th grade students. You've noticed what I've done here, perhaps, folks. I've told ChatGPT who it is. I've given it a role. So I'll talk about some of the ways that we can prompt ChatGPT well as we go through today. So you're a grade 4 teacher. You need to plan 60-minute Halloween party. We want it to have 3 party games, a decorative theme, and we need a craft that can be done by students in 10 minutes using readily available classroom supplies. Are we ready? Here we go. It's starting to tell us what it has. So it's quickly generating. So I'm just going to come up to the top here and give you a quick overview of what it has. I know you won't see exactly all the words because we're going to go pretty quick here. So it gives us a theme: spooky but fun Halloween haunt. Decorations. So it's given us 3 decorations and some instructions of how to make them using things like crepe paper streamers. What else do we have? Googly eyes, paper plates. Okay. It's given us some party games. It's telling us how long they take, materials, and instructions. It's suggesting we can give small prizes or stickers to the winners. Okay. So 3 games, 15 minutes each. And then it has a craft for us. So some spooky spider pops. There's some steps. And then there's a conclusion. Okay. Now, let's say that we want to go a little bit further and we want to have a YouTube playlist. So I'm going to ask it now to give us a YouTube playlist. So I'm just saying a YouTube playlist of age and theme appropriate Halloween music. So it knows what I've just asked it. We're having a real conversation here. Now look at this. It says it can't give me a YouTube playlist because of links to copyright content. So ChatGPT does have some pretty strong guardrails about what it will give back to us. So it says YouTube music is copyrighted. I can't give you those links, but I can suggest some songs that you can search on YouTube to create for your playlist. And then it warns me, look at this, make sure to use age appropriate content for 4th grade students. So make sure you're checking. So then it gives us a list. It tells us, okay, there's the Monster Mash, and it tells us about the song. Fun and catchy, perfect for young kids. Michael Jackson's Thriller, Purple People Eater. All right, so 10 songs, some old, some new. And it then says, don't forget again to make sure that the content is appropriate. for fourth grade students. Okay, now we've got our party planned, but what about sending information home to parents? We're going to ask ChatGPT to write an email home to parents telling them about the party and asking them to send a nut-free snack based on the recommendations that it's already given us above. Remind the students that they should have a costume to change into at lunchtime, and we've given the date and time of the party. So right now, ChatGPT is going to write me a letter home that I can send to parents. Here it comes. All right, so here's a template. We hope it finds you well. Here's a party, date, time, party highlights, party snacks, and it does do our request about nut-free. It says, to ensure the safety of all our students, we kindly request you send in nut-free snacks for your child to enjoy during the party, as allergies can be a concern. And there it is, and it gives you some suggestions. Now, this is a good example of the 80-20 rule. This has saved me a lot of time, but I'm going to personalize it. I should not copy and paste the whole thing. I probably want to make it a little bit more specific to my class, but that sure would have saved me time getting started. I'm going to copy this. No, I'm not going to do that one. Okay, so there we have our first example. Do you want to talk about what you're seeing in the chat while I get our next example ready, Kellyanne?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of conversation about this being a parrot or very similar kind of content being produced. And while that's true, I would argue that as a teacher sending a letter home to parents, you're probably writing the same kind of thing over and over. And so why not put in the specific details of that note that you need to send and let ChatGPT do the work for you? And as we've mentioned already, that 80-20 rule applies to nearly every search that you intend to use. If you're playing around, that's a little bit different, but anything that you're searching into ChatGPT that you plan to actually turn into something useful, that 80-20 rule is really important to remember.
All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to go to a curriculum use. So, oh, that's not what I wanted. We already did that one. Okay, so we know that we have new curriculum. In particular, we have new science curriculum in elementary for K-3. So I'm just going to come over here to the new science curriculum. So let's say we take science, and I'm going to go to, I don't know, let's go to grade 3. They have to do the new curriculum. And we're going to come down here to, let's do solids, liquids, and gases. So I'm going to copy all of this, get that into my clipboard, and I'm going to come back to ChatGPT here, hopefully. And so I've got a prompt on the screen, and I say, generate a 1 week with 40 minutes per day, 3rd grade lesson plan as a table. Table should have the following columns: objectives, standards, pre-assessment, activities, post-assessment, accommodations, and time. Now, I maybe don't need all of those. I could probably get rid, let's go objectives. Well, I'll leave them all for right now. So here is my content. And I'm going to ask it to have pre-assessment, some post-assessment activities, and it's going to be about matter. Okay, let's just see what happens. So 1 week lesson plan, 3rd grade science, focusing on solids, liquids, and gases. So the table kind of runs off the page here. And so pre-assessment, distribute a short quiz with questions related to the definitions. Day 2,
We just have a quick question
Yeah.
that I think is worth addressing. The chats are saved, and you can see in the top left of the screen, it says new chat. And so each time you start a new topic, you'll want to start a new chat so that you're sort of keeping that workflow together with by topic. And so ChatGPT does save your previous chats. On that left-hand side of the toolbar, you can see them. All of the previous ones are listed there.
Okay, so this is an example of a starting spot. So it's given me 5 days of grade 3 level lesson plans. At the very beginning, I noticed it says distribute a short quiz with questions related to the definitions. Well, I'm going to ask it, can you produce the written questions suggested and answers for this grade level? So it's given me some questions. It tells me it's for third grade, and it's giving me some long answer questions with suggested answers. And I'm going to ask for, can you make 5 of those into multiple choice? So you'll notice for third grade, it's only giving us 3 answers, A, B, and C, so less reading. And then at the bottom, it gives us, 3, it gives us the answer key as well. Now, this looks pretty impressive. It pumps out questions really quickly. This is probably where I most don't like ChatGPT, because I think that we can make better questions. And I do know that sometimes teachers just pull these and use them. And I would say this is a start. Which of the following is a state of matter? A soccer ball, a rainbow, a liquid? Well, maybe we need to give better responses, or better, if it's too easy or too hard, we can ask ChatGPT to make it harder, to make it easier. But at the end of the day, we still have to, as humans, make it better for our students. And Kellyanne, if there's questions that we can address, do please, I can't see those, so that would be good. Okay, so I'm also going to ask, it talks about a culminating activity. And so I'm going to ask it to produce a set of instructions for the culminating activity and an exemplar.
So you can copy the content that has been produced here. In the top right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see there's a little copy paste once the chat is finished generating there. And you can paste it into something like a Google Doc. Just be aware that formatting doesn't always paste beautifully. Mm-hmm. So the tables, for example,
where's that table? There it is. Yeah,
aren't always great into a blank doc. But if you copy and paste it into, say you've added a blank table on your doc, you might have a little more success.
Yeah. So this is actually this page right here, as you can see. I'm gonna. There you go. You can see here, this is pretty ChatGPT style. So if you're, wanting to see if your students are using ChatGPT, or if, is your principal writing you ChatGPT emails, one of the things that is pretty common as you start to use ChatGPT more is that it has this format. It has a heading. It likes to use numbered elements. It often has, like, you notice number 1, bold, colon. That's pretty common. It likes to use bullet points. And so if you see material that's this format, it is possible that it's ChatGPT generated, especially if the person hasn't traditionally performed with materials like that before.
So there is some questions about how satisfied users are with the responses, and like Cammie's mentioned already, you'll start to notice that a very similar formula is produced regardless of what you're asking for, but your prompts also determine the output. And so, it depends on all of those factors, mm-hmm. how happy or how much work you still have to do to get the response you've been looking for.
And for sure. And the more that you use ChatGPT, the better you will become as prompters. And right below on the website that some of you are watching from is a document, a Padlet document, where we've put lots of resources together, and there's several on there on prompting. Let's have it write a reference letter for us. This is from the principal of Main Street School, middle school of 350 students in Canada. You're writing a letter of recommendation for a student who's just finished grade 9. They have excellent marks. They're well disciplined. They're in the Fine Arts Academy, and they're good at badminton and swimming.
As former high school teachers, we had these requests often, and it's time consuming. You do often want to write a solid letter. So I do know that this is one of the areas I would have absolutely loved to been able to use.
Now, it's very effusive in its praise. Look at this. In addition to his contributions to the arts, David is an accomplished athlete. He has excelled in badminton and swimming, consistently representing our school in inter-school competitions. His dedication to sports, combined with his team spirit and sportsmanship, has earned him the respect and admiration of both his coaches and teammates. When you do several of these, you will see that there is definitely, yes,
there's patterns.
There's patterns, 100%.
This letter's way too long. Nobody wants to read all of that.
So what we're going to do is we're going to shorten this to 3 paragraphs. Okay. So shorten to 3 paragraphs, and it'll do that for us. Okay. Now, maybe you just want to have a letter template. So this is much shorter. Now let's get it to generate a reference letter template. Kellyanne was just talking. She's a high school teacher. Graduating students ask her for letters all the time. Maybe she just wants a template to start from. Now, we know that if you go into Word or Google Docs templates, there's all sorts of letter templates there. But this one might be one that can help you out beyond his, her. So you just put the student's name. This is their recipe. This is their model. Let's see. Now, writing in the humanities. As a high school language arts teacher, lots of you are that, junior high, senior high, social English teachers. The impact on written work is probably one of the biggest things that is going to rock our world here. And so we need to have conversations about what that looks like. But let's just pop in some prompts from some language arts courses. We can ask it to do really specific things. Now, I'm going to ask it, this is going to be quite a particular prompt. I'm going to ask it to write a sonnet for each of the characters from the novel The Cellist of Sarajevo. And I've given it the characters, Arrow, Keenan, Dragon. It should identify them as characters, describe their main conflict and resolution in the novel. And the sonnet, I'm going to say the sonnets, because I want it to give us one for each, should be in Elizabethan style. So I'm asking it to do something pretty complex. Know a novel, know characters, and then write a sonnet, which has a specific rhyme scheme. Okay, so sometimes when you give it something like this, it's just wrong. It might think that a character that's a boy is a girl or other words. But in this case, Arrow is a sniper. Okay, and then, see, Dragon here isn't the cellist. And so this is outright wrong. And so, just a second. He is, no, he's not the cellist. Okay, so maybe he's listening to the cello. Okay, so you can see here, A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D. It's got the right rhyme scheme. This is a pretty complex piece that ChatGPT has done for us. Now, let's do something pretty typical for a language arts class. We're going to use To Kill a Mockingbird. Why is Atticus, the father from To Kill a Mockingbird, a good parent? Some of you have probably used this as a prompt. So here's where we're going to see real patterns. Okay, the patterns that it has are in its transitions, first and foremost, furthermore, and then it's going to conclude, in conclusion. All right, so it writes with a nice topic sentence and a nice concluding sentence, and it gives as information. Now, lots of times when I've been testing ChatGPT and giving it different questions like this, it is incorrect. And so you have to know, especially when we're coming from literature, it will give us quotes that are incorrect. It will give us scenarios from the novel or the book that is incorrect. And so anytime that you're generating content from ChatGPT that's based on something from literature, you must check it carefully. You must check it carefully. So I just asked ChatGPT to give us the reasons that Atticus was a good parent. I could ask him for, or I could ask ChatGPT for reasons that he was not a good parent. So I can do the opposite. Now, as a teacher, I could give students copies of both of these. And then I could ask them to take this information and use some of it or add their own to create their piece. Now, again, we're not going to have time to go into using this with students, but it is important for us to talk to students about, hey, we know ChatGPT's out there. Sometimes, and Allie's using a model like this, you can even give the kids models of essays written by ChatGPT and using that as a starting point to go in many different directions.
Russell made a comment that math is similar form errors because, again, remember, this is based on content up to 2021 online primarily, and math can be hard. And so whatever content has been produced up to that point may have some inaccuracies, and based on what you're asking it for, it may in fact generate incorrect responses.
Now, on the other hand, it is great for creative responses. So I've just put a prompt in to write a short story based on elements of fiction provided below between 600 and 800 words. I've given it information about the main character. I've given it information about the time, the place, an initial incident, and 2 things that I want to have happen in the story and the overall theme. So if this is something that you're doing, if your kids are creating stories, this can be an interesting approach. What if you as a teacher generated stories based on the students' outlines?
There's like a template, an outline,
right?
template,
So you have a template, the students fill it in, you pump that into ChatGPT, and literally in 30 seconds, I have a story. And in this case, I'm actually going to copy the story in the clipboard. And if I can find my chat, I'm going to actually post. This is going to be, I think it'll take the whole thing in the chat. I'm going to post the story in the chat. So let's see if that actually goes in there. It's going to take up a whole bunch of space. So it might go in, it's a whole bunch of separate ones. So if you want to read the story. Now, it is like, I don't know, so stock. Like it is like predictable, the whole thing to the end, the title, everything. So what if you gave the students this and said, make it better? Or like, is it plausible? They're going to rip this thing apart and they're going to make it better. They're going to talk about story writing. They're going to talk about good writing, but they're not necessarily going to have to do all that hard work of staring at the blank page. Now, imagine you are the principal of New Brigden School and you like to write a Christmas play every year. Write a Christmas play for 30 students. 4 of them have main speaking parts. The protagonist is Mrs. Claus. Or maybe you have to write a funny song for your staff to perform.
2 musical parts in the Christmas
and
concert.
So you want a song to the tune of Mary Had a Little Lamb about something. It will produce those kinds of things. We could go on. Hopefully we've shown you a few things this morning with ChatGPT, just as one single tool that would be helpful and useful to you. The possibilities really are endless. Kellyanne, let's look at a few things that we can leave our colleagues with as we go on here. So I know you're all busy reading this fantastic story that ChatGPT just wrote there. But here's the thing. Just like teaching students how to effectively use search engines. And I would say that lots of students and adults don't know how to effectively search. We know that things on the internet aren't true. We know that there's bad websites. We know that there's work to be done and that we shouldn't believe everything we hear online. It's the same with ChatGPT. It's the same with other online tools. They've been trained on all of the things on the internet that contain both truth and good and bad. And so it's going to have those pieces in its DNA. And so as teachers going forward, our students in their jobs of the future, whether they're in grade 3 right now or 5 or 12, they're going to live in a world that is probably run by AI in ways that just would hurt our brain and scare our brain to think about right now. We can't not talk about AI with our students going forward because it's part of the world. Just like the microwave and YouTube and the internet aren't going away or didn't go away, it's not going to either. And so in the months to come, we hope to have those conversations with you and in your schools and talk about what that looks like. How do we as teachers go down that road? In the end, there are still some things that teachers are super important for. That human connection is something that we as teachers have. And maybe, lots of you talked about the possibilities of time saving. I showed you lots of ways right now that we can save some time. And there's lots more. I mean, so many other ways. Like we could have gone on for 2 hours doing things just like that. But maybe if we save time, we have more time for the human connection, more one-on-one time for our students. And our students are going to be in a work world where this is the way. It already is. So we do need to talk to them about how to use it ethically and responsibly and help them be able to use these tools. As we go forward, there's a couple things that are going to happen from us at the district level involving AI. On October 6th, if you haven't registered yet, and we know that lots of you have, there's going to be 2 different sessions that we offer. We're going to do an introductory session, very similar to this, but we'll use different prompts. So if you just want to, again, see what AI can do, come to that one. And then we're going to do 2 that are really focused on time-saving tools for teachers. We'll probably do different tools in each session. So really there'll be 3 quite different sessions that we do. And we'll look at very specific tools outside of ChatGPT that are built for educators to save time. After school sessions, we're going to do a mini series of 4 to start. The dates are on there. The first one is this week, September 27th, October 11th, October 25th, and November 8th. Kellyanne's going to pop that address in the chat as well, so it's clickable. And if you go to this address that's on the screen right now or in the chat, that is to join an email list essentially where you can sign up to attend the after school sessions, get informations, links, all of that. It doesn't mean you have to attend. It just means that you'll get the information about the particulars. If you're looking to try some tools and you want to go a little further than ChatGPT, some of the ones that we would recommend as places to dip in are Curapod, which is a slides generator. Diffit is probably my favorite tool, and it is for differentiation. It produces quizzes, vocabulary lists, but grade 3 level, grade 5 level, grade 7 level, all of the same text, fabulous. Magic School AI is another good one. Project Read, Kathy's maybe even been to your school talking about Project Read. And of course, Canva, which we have access to as a district, has information, lots of uses of AI in there. So we'd love to hear your parting thoughts about what happened with you when you did use ChatGPT, or maybe your experiences, your questions, things you've seen, cautions to other teachers. But for now, we are going to end right on time as promised so that your principals can get on with your SI Day. We thank you for joining us for this pre-SI Day session. And for those of you that are new to the world of generative AI, we just want to say it can be a scary place, but it can also be a place of great promise and great, what's the word? Great potential. There we go. And so we hope that you'll join us in our 30-minute after school specials. The dates, again, are on our website, in our newsletter. You can join up at that newsletter. Kellyanne will post that again. And the link, the bit.ly with the 3 at the end, takes you to our Coaches AI webpage. And there is a Padlet there that is full of information. We hope that you will check that out there's an especially great video series called AI 101 from code.org. And with that, we are going to end. The chat will continue for a bit. If you need to put some final thoughts in there, call us, talk to us, ask us questions. We would love to come in with you and your teachers to plan what this can look like going forward for you as a teacher. How can it save you time? How can you use it? We'd love to have that conversation with you. So we had good internet after all. From your instructional coaches, have a great SI day, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. All right. Bye-bye.